All right, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen what I have up on the screen here because it went viral and has been all over the place the past few days, but it combines two of my favorite things to cover, which is crypto scams and false prophets. When you've been getting into this research for long enough, eventually you kind of detach from the rest of society and you kind of get in your own little bubble until you interact with someone who is still into all of this stuff, when you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot that this was actually a thing going on. And I bring that up to say that there are a lot of people out there who are militant atheists. I mean, they are adamant in that philosophy, and there is nothing you can say that will change their mind at all. And I went through a phase like that myself many, many years ago now. And the reason that people gravitate towards that idea, or at least one of the reasons, is things like what I have up on the screen here right now. We are given this absurd portrayal of what it allegedly means to believe in God and what people who believe in God do and say. It's so absurd that you, especially when you're younger, run away from it. Or at least a lot of people do. Oh, that person claims to believe in God and that's what they did? Well, if that's the case, that's not for me. That's ridiculous. And it's a lot of things like that which slowly over time erode your faith in anything that could be described as God. Now, I have no interest in converting anyone to anything because I myself am not an adherent to any religion. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Rather, my only goal with a video like this is to expose what it is not, which is very obvious. Okay, this is ancient history now, but people forget that George W. Bush said that he was a Christian, quote unquote. How George Bush really found Jesus, which is just completely laughable when you know the history and you know who these people are and where they come from and what their fortunes are tied into. I mean, it's the most laughable idea in all of recorded history that this guy was actually a quote-unquote Christian. He was nothing of the sort, right? But that's what they do. They pretend to be something that they are not for a variety of reasons. Number one, they know that a lot of people have faith, and accordingly, they have to give someone pretending to be supporting their interests in the government, or the scam would never work. Which is why you have so many of these senators and representatives who claim to be Christians, but are in no way, shape, or form anything close to that. And this is shown via their actions. Speaking of which, Lindsey Graham is in the news right now, and he is also a professing Christian. He's a Baptist. And he comes out with this tweet, "Hit Iran now, hit them hard." Pretty sure Jesus wouldn't have been concerned with dropping bombs on other people, right? I think that's 101 Jesus class, based on what is written down, attributed to him. Don't think that's in there anywhere, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but pretty sure that's not on the list. A lot of people might get discouraged by this state of affairs. The amount of pretenders and false prophets that are out there. But I actually see it as something that's somewhat positive, in the sense that the original message that came from that man that they called Jesus all those years ago was so powerful and so true. It was just so self-evidently true. And that being just walked the earth and changed everyone and everything it came into contact with because it was just pure truth. I mean, you know what that feels like. You know what it sounds like. And that is what it would have been back then. The same as you would experience it now if God came back to earth in that form. And that was so powerful that they had to do everything that they could to corrupt it, change it, put their fingerprints on it in a way that would distort it slightly, knowing they could never fully extinguish that light that had ignited from that whole thing, but they could dim it. They could put things in front of it that would obscure it. They could present their own version of that light and get people on board with it, and then pretend like they are giving you the same thing, which is what modern Christianity is, or should we call it Churchianity, the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Vatican Church system, all of the different denominations that have split off from that is known as Christianity, the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, the Hindu faith, all of the other Eastern philosophies. Each and every one of them is a shell surrounding the original kernel of truth that obscures it. Because that which is in control of this world knew that it had to do that in order to maintain its rule, to maintain its system that it was constructing. And nevertheless, in spite of that, things got put into the Bible that tell you this state of affairs, that warn you about it. This is from Matthew. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. And it's so funny, right? Because the wolf in sheep's clothing is just something that everyone says. It's ubiquitous as far as our language goes, but most people don't understand that this is where it's coming from. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Which is to say exactly what I was just going into. There are going to be a lot of people who come to you and say that they are a Christian, or they are this thing or the other thing. They will claim to have direct connection with God. They will claim to be speaking on behalf of God. And yet their fruits, their actions will not support that in any way, shape, or form. Like we can see from all of these people in America on the religious right, quote unquote, who pretend to be Christians but are nothing of the sort, right? These are the people that have an R next to their name and a Christian tag in their bio, and they're on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log, right? You know what I mean? So this is what we're dealing with here. And it's a very persistent problem. However, like I was saying, I see the positive in it in the sense that the original truth is so powerful that they have to resort to these measures. They have to do this. They have to try so hard and have these billion-dollar organizations that portray themselves as the truth, the thing that you should be following, the churches that you should be going to. The truth is so powerful that they had to construct it around that. This thing that misleads everyone. And especially as it relates to God, Jesus, and religion in the Western world, or in America in particular here, you have all of these young people that look at this hypocrisy and they say, well, I'm not going to be religious then. I can't believe in God. This is absurd. And yes, it is absurd, but you just have to see the bigger picture for why it exists. Why does this exist? It's not just to steal money from people. No, it's something much deeper than that. They steal money from you in every way you can imagine. They don't need to steal it from you with religion, though I will admit it is one of the easier ways to part someone from their money, because the average naive person doesn't understand this is going on, and they think they're giving their money to someone for God. And the person they're giving it to is a false prophet, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They don't understand that that's what's taking place. So it is easier to scam people in a certain sense using this, and people like L. Ron Hubbard have said as much. If you want to make money, start your own religion. So there is that truth there. But see the other part of it too, where it's not just for money. There's something much deeper at work here that they're trying to obscure by having all of this con artistry around it. Think about the government and how it constantly is stealing money from you at any opportunity it can via this illegal IRS that it's set up to take income tax from you. They tax you in every way they can think of, and yet somehow they let this church system be 501c3 exempt from taxes. My point is, do you really think they would let those organizations be exempt from taxes if it wasn't serving some other purpose? If they weren't getting something else out of it? While at the same time they're doing what I said, they have to be providing the illusion of charity, because that's the original message in terms of the materiality of this world and how that's not going to matter when you leave it. You don't get to take any of it with you. And so they have to pretend to be charitable. Look at how many of these families that we would think of as quote unquote elite families, self-proclaimed, of course, who are involved in philanthropy. They are known to be philanthropic families because publicly they're giving money away, and then behind the scenes, they're doing all of the things that we know they're doing that nobody reports on, which provides the illusion of who they are in the public that allows for their existence to continue while they do all of that other stuff. It's the same thing with these churches. They provide that same illusion so that you don't question what it is that they're actually doing. So unfortunately, with the current state of affairs being what it is, if you say Jesus is the truth, most people are going to look at you and be like, you mean like what George Bush believed? You mean like what this person believes, or what that person did, or what that person did? You mean like what they're doing through the Vatican? That you're Jesus? That's what you think? And that's the game I hope you see. So anyway, I was about to show a clip of that video and I got sidetracked there. So let's go back to this, which will just further make this point.
This update is to really just take some things head on. I'm not reading from a script, and I didn't prepare any notes like I normally do. And I was asking the Lord what he wanted me to say, and he said, just let me speak through you. So let me just come out first and foremost.
So right away, we have the claim that you will usually hear, the Lord is speaking through him.
First and foremost by saying that Caitlin and I are being charged in a civil charge from the Colorado Securities and Exchange Commission for basically selling millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency that is deemed worthless by the state. Now, the reason that they're saying that it's worthless is because there is no exit for people who have bought. So everyone that's watching this, who has put money into this, who wanted to take money out, you've been unable to do that. We launched an exchange, the exchange technology failed, things went downhill, and from that point forward, we've just been waiting on the Lord literally for a miracle. So the charges are that Caitlin and I pocketed $1.3 million, and I just want to come out and say that those charges are true. So there's been $1.3 million that's been taken out of...
Man, he started to laugh there. Did you catch that?
I think it was a total of $3.4 million. But out of that 1.3, $500,000 went to the IRS, and a few $100,000 went to a home remodel that the Lord told us to do.
A few $100,000, no big deal, went to a home remodel that the Lord told us to do. Yeah, so I'm not going to go any further into this soliloquy that my man is going into here about how, yes, we promoted a crypto scam where literally you could put money in and not take it out. There was no way for you to exchange your coins once you had them. And yeah, we did that. And oh yeah, there was $3.4 million available, and we only took $1.5 million out, and half of that went to the IRS. So, I mean, you can't even say we got that much out of it. And then we just used a couple $100,000 on a home remodel because, again, that's exactly what I was told to do by God, right? God told me to remodel my house. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's funny. On this whole topic, last night, I randomly came across a clip that was talking about the flooding in Houston a few years back, and Joel Osteen, another one of these fake preachers, would not open the doors to his church in Houston for people to go into because he had just remodeled the floors or something like that. And he later went on his website and defended it in some way. I didn't even read what he said to defend it, but there you go again, right? I have this gigantic church that all of my followers paid for by contributing money to me tax-free as a part of my church organization, and then I won't even open the doors to that church because I just had the floors redone. As if all of his mansions and everything along those lines wouldn't have been able to scrounge together enough money to redo the floors again. As if the people's lives at that very moment didn't mean more than some stupid floor. You know what I mean? Of course, that's not a Christian person, right? And I hesitate to even use the word Christian because of the situation that we're in right now, where that word doesn't mean anything because it's been taken over. It's just so hard to use language to describe what I mean, which is why you have to go back to those Bible verses. Like, you have to know them by their fruits, right? This guy, no matter what he says on the screen, and good for him if he's actually contrite about it and if he's honestly apologizing to his followers, but at the same time, it's like you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. These things don't happen by accident. You would have to be inept on a level that would defy your position as the leader of an organization to fall for something like that. Now, granted, some of these crypto scams are sophisticated, and even the best of us can fall for them from time to time, but still, this is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And even at the end, I was going to say, he says, we still think God has a plan for this, and he's going to bring us out of it in some kind of miracle. So, don't take all your money out yet when you get the chance. It was basically the implication, clearly showing that he learned nothing. But we will know them by their fruit, right? We will know them via their actions. So I think that's really what I wanted to get into here. And this goes for anything, right? You have to pay attention to what people do over time, who they support over time, what narratives they are supporting, and compare that to their words and what they say they are. Obviously, this is a lesson that I don't need to tell a lot of you who have been involved in trying to find the truth on the internet, because you know as well as I do that 9 out of the 10 people you come across tell you they're seeking the truth like you are. I'm a truth seeker just like you are. And then everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie or a half-truth setting up a future lie, right? So you know what I mean. You have to judge them by their actions and what they produce. And going back to the idea of truthers, I mean, you have to judge them by how they make you feel. What do they produce in your life? How are they helping you become a better person? Right? How many of the people who call themselves that are actually doing something along those lines? It's very, 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 very small. I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head on the internet doing that. In the community that we tend to pay attention to, that is. Lots of other people outside of that are doing that kind of thing in their own way. Just understand that Churchianity doesn't have anything to do with what is in the Bible as it relates to the man they call Jesus. Okay? So that's it for now. I'm going to add something else that I put together onto the end of this later.
Anyway, the second thing that's been on my mind It could very well be that Christianity and a lot of these religions were designed, their very purpose, thinking this many moves ahead, designed to fail. How? Why? Well, if they steal the teachings of Christ and then create this Jesus deity, this Trinity, which isn't what it was, then point their fingers at themselves like they always do, expose the Babylonian symbolism, the satanic symbolism of the religions they created. They could do that in hopes to make you abandon all Christ's teachings as well, do you see? If you don't know that they stole those teachings, then you'll think that they created those teachings. They expose the deity as symbolism, and then everybody will have their big sigh of relief. Oh, we don't have to be good. We don't have to follow any of that. You see, the ultimate last-ditch attempt to discredit Christ. Why? That opens the door for the New World religion of sorcery, or Satanism, for the utopia. It has to be that because there's no way these people doing what they're doing could have given the metaphors that Christ gave to create some symbolic deity. Just the two wouldn't go hand in hand. So, it really, from what I've been learning, what I've seen, they stole his teachings to draw people into both Christianity and Satanism. Then they're going to point the finger at the symbolism of Christianity and other religions so that people release all of the teachings of Christ, thinking was a fraud, for the final entrapment. It's very important that you stay balanced. Because regardless of what's happening in this reality, you have got to stay you while you speak out about it. All of these things. The primary foundation of what you are is love, and that's what they don't want you to know. And the easiest way to do that is to come in the name of love and slowly tear you away from it, redefine it, to ensnare you in the web.